Welcome to the Modern JavaScript Bootcamp. I'm Andrew. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm excited to show you everything that JavaScript can do. You're making a very smart choice because JavaScript is currently seeing unprecedented growth. We're seeing growth in the number of people trying to learn the language, the number of jobs available, the salary that a JavaScript developer gets, and the number of places that JavaScript can be used, from the browser to native mobile applications to the server. Now, there are a few goals for this video, a couple of things I want to knock out. I know we're all very excited to get into the course and actually learn the language and start writing and running code, but there are two things I want to cover here. The first thing I want to do is give you a brief overview of how we're going to learn JavaScript, so the curriculum. How are we going to get from where we are now to actually being able to write JavaScript applications? The other thing I want to cover are just a few quick tips and tricks for letting you get the most out of this course, getting the most out of our time together. I'm very excited to jump in, so let's go ahead and talk about how we're going to learn JavaScript. When I was designing and creating this course, I knew I wanted to create a course that was as accessible as possible. JavaScript often gets a bad reputation for being a language that's difficult to learn, but I don't see that. I don't think it needs to be that way. So in this course, we're going to build incrementally on your knowledge, starting with simple features and moving on to much more advanced features. Along the way, there will be a series of challenges requiring you to actually use what you should have learned, and that's going to make sure that by the time you get to the end of the course, you can actually go off and use JavaScript to solve real problems. You can land a job or launch your own application. The course is broken into three major parts. In part one, you're going to learn the very basics of the language. We're also going to install some stuff on your machine that we're going to need for the rest of the course. So you'll learn how to create a JavaScript file, we'll see how we can execute it, and we're going to start using JavaScript to solve interesting problems. In part one, you'll start building out the to-do and note-taking applications. In part two, we're going to take what we already know about JavaScript and connect it to the browser. So we're going to tie it up with a user interface so real people can actually use our applications. We'll be able to render stuff to the screen, like the list of notes or the to-dos that haven't been completed, and we're going to figure out how to respond to user interaction. So users can click buttons or submit forms, and we'll be able to do things with that info. This is where we're going to put the finishing touches on the to-do and note-taking applications. In part three, we're going to start working on the Hangman game as we explore asynchronous programming in JavaScript. This is going to allow us to connect our applications to third-party data sources. So we can send data off to save it, or we can request data, whether it's something like a new puzzle for the Hangman game, a list of all of the countries, a list of movies in the top 200 on IMDb. Being able to connect your application with third-party data sources is essential for creating something real-world. I am super excited to get into all of this, but I do want to continue on with part two of this video and just offer up a couple of quick tips and tricks that are going to help you get the most out of this class. The first of three tips has to do with you actually writing code. If you just watch the videos in the course and you don't write code, you're going to get to the end of the course and you're not going to know how JavaScript works, and you won't be able to use it to land a job or build an application. And that's not my goal for you. I want you to learn and understand JavaScript, and to do that, you need experience actually writing code and solving problems. So as we explore a new language feature, I'm going to write some code that shows that feature off. We'll talk about the feature and we'll see how it works. It's your job to also write the code and run it when I do. Throughout the course, there are also 80 some odd challenges. This is where I give you a little problem to solve. I then tell you to pause the video and you go off and solve that problem. When you're done, you come back and we work through the solution together. It's essential to actually work through these as well. That's going to give you real hands-on experience solving problems with JavaScript. So when you're done the course and you want to create your own application, you'll actually be able to do that because you'll have real-world experience solving problems on your very own. I would never give you a challenge that covered something we didn't talk about in the course, and the entire course is filmed in real time. It's paced in a way where you can actually follow along. The second thing I'd like to talk about is how you can ask questions. So as you move through the course, you might get stuck. Maybe we install a program together, but when you install it locally on your machine, it doesn't install correctly. Maybe you follow along writing a script out, but when you run it, you don't get the same result I get. Regardless of what's going wrong, you can ask a question in the Q&A to get help. There is a link to the Q&A for each and every lecture at the bottom of the video player. The link is Browse Q&A. There you can browse all of the questions previously asked and answered. you might be able to find a solution to a common problem right away in the previously asked questions. If you can't, that's fine too. You can go ahead and ask a brand new question. All I ask is that you provide as much information as possible. The more information you provide about what's going wrong, the faster I'll be able to get you unstuck and back on track. So if you're getting some sort of error message or other strange output, take a screenshot of your screen and include that with the question. If your code isn't working correctly, go ahead and zip up your project and include that with the question. The more information you can provide me about what you were doing when you saw the error, the better. I'll be able to get you unstuck and back on track real quick. The last piece of advice I have for you is to take your time working through the course. Learning is not a race. It would be very easy to blow through this course in 4 days. I simply stop following along and I skip all the challenges, I watch the videos all day, and I'm done in 4 days. The only problem is that when I'm done, I haven't actually learned anything. That's not my wish for you. For you, it's going to take a bit more time, and that's okay. I recommend coming up with a schedule that works for you. Maybe you can dedicate weekday evenings to the course, or maybe you can dedicate Saturdays and Sunday mornings to learning JavaScript. Whatever it happens to be, try to find a schedule and stick to it. It is truly the slow but steady that are going to win. Now, there are other situations where you might want to think about your pacing as well. If you get really tired and you find yourself skipping challenges or not following along, it's probably a good idea to take a break. Maybe take a day or 2 off. Go ahead and step outside or do something else for a little while. Then when you come back, you'll be recharged and ready to actually learn the language. It's not a race. By the end, my goal for you is to actually learn and understand JavaScript. That might take 3 weeks or 2 months. Either way is good. Let's go ahead and continue on in the next video.